With us, Doug Randall, who works at Innovative Interfaces. Today is April 14th, 2011. We're at the San Francisco Hilton Union Square, and Doug is going to talk with us about his experiences with Innovative Interfaces and the IUG. So, Doug, can you explain or tell us what your title is and how long you've worked at Innovative?
Sure. My title is Vice President, Product Technology. I've been with Innovative since 1985, so quite a stretch. My job now, largely as then, involves the hardware and systems sort of side of things, not so much the applications, but more the physical machines and connections between them and operating system details and so forth. But as with many of us at Innovative, I've worn many hats and been involved in all areas of the application as well.
Talk about some of the topics you've presented over the years. I know they're always very interesting for me to attend and kind of give me an overview of technology.
I've covered topics. It's really the things which users are working with currently, asking about currently, sort of through our help desk, the kinds of problems that they're working through. And sometimes it's a little bit of the future, what's down the road. So I've done whole sessions on printers and printer cabling and different kinds of handshaking and cable length restrictions, and I've done sessions on web services and directions in XML and inter-system communication. Really very, very disparate audiences. One is in the here and now, and the other is more, where the trend's going, what's the future going to bring. Has
Innovative always been an active part of our users group, or how did you get involved?
Well, the user group at the earliest stages, when it was first forming, really I was not directly involved in the administration of that area, but I really was drawn into those meetings that were taking place. The earliest meetings were in our own offices or at the nearby Claremont Hotel, and really my introduction was to be brought in to provide help or to in some cases present or do questions and answers and so forth, really with this great group of users who happened to be in town and accessible. So from the very beginning, for me, it was a place to meet the users of the system and talk about in detail the troubles, if any, that they're having with the system and the successes that they're having. What struck me over time is really how the scale has increased. There have been different milestones along the way where you'll realize this is no longer a small meeting or a small conference, but a major event. But for me, I still see many of the same faces, and the things that we're talking about are light years beyond the issues that we were talking about then, but they're the same folks dedicated to solving problems for their users, for their patrons.
Where do you see the programming on your end going over, say, the next 5 years?
You mean Innovative's contribution to the conferences? I do like the direction it's going now. Certainly, it's well received by the participants. It's a mix. It's not just effectively sales presentations on the newest products. it's a mix from how to use established products effectively, sort of refresher, almost training repackaged, to really sales-oriented presentations. If you're not already making use of these products, these are the things they can do in your libraries, and these are the things they're doing in other libraries. So I don't see a change in that sort of narrowing in any one area.
How are the selections made for who's going to attend? I mean, one of the things that I really appreciate is that we do have product managers and people like you coming, and it's not just the salespeople who attend.
It's, if you are the expert in an area that needs to be covered, you're on the hook. You're going to be the one to present. Betsy has built up a tremendous product management organization, any of whom are really intended just for this sort of interaction. They're specialists in their area, in their products, and they're of course the first and most obvious candidates. Virtually the whole product manager, all the product managers attend every conference and are presenting multiple tracks, if you will. Many years ago, before Betsy took on the product management structure as it is today, the early product management capacity at Innovative was a sole individual, and it was me. I was Innovative's first sort of product manager, looking after the details of, you know, what's in, what's out, where's it going. Very different than the functional experts that you have today, product specialists. In this case, it was the product manager for Millennium, or InnoPack as the product. So did the presentations for what's coming in the new releases and so forth. Now there's so much of that to go around that we, as you know, there are many product managers presenting on individual topics. And if I pop into a topic already in progress, it's like visiting a village I've never been to before, hearing about the rich detail in parts of the system that I work with every day that I was not even aware existed. It's an enormous system. It's very, very complex.
Do you get to attend other sessions than the ones, I mean, what are your responsibilities when you're at a conference?
So beyond the areas that I'm specifically there to present, I'm certainly free to attend any topics of interest, or where I might be able to contribute, to meet other attendees. I tend to spend a lot of time attending the presentations by IUG members rather than the Innovative presentations. I find that very enlightening and helpful. But I've learned a great deal at IUG conferences from my colleagues that I didn't pick up in the lunchroom.
Do you take things back then and say, this is a good idea, or what do you do once you get back to the office?
The work leading up to an IUG is quite frenetic, as you might imagine, but there's a critical amount of work on the return to just disseminate everything that you've accumulated in your head, all the contacts, all the ideas, all of that, to get it laid down in a way that you can use it, for the near-term discussions that you need to have with others all around the organization, and others who've returned from the same conference similar lists. We need to meet and discuss and collaborate about what we've heard.
Do you have a memorable conference, and why would that be?
Well, for me, the primary intent, I have specific presentations that I need to do. So I remember specific presentations that were either challenging or sort of war stories or horror stories. I remember vividly presenting the very first appearance of Innovative's first graphical interface, the window pack interface, which was in Windows, would have been 3.1 at that time, light years ahead of DOS 5.0. And we had done such a great deal of work with libraries to overcome the challenges of presenting an effective user interface to users who had never necessarily even seen a computer of this type. If you could imagine, the issue of the double click was paramount. This was a barrier to entry. People would not be able to use the system if they were not able to first operate the mouse or then to master the double click. And through some very clever programming and work, we had mastered the double click and had achieved a single click in Windows so that it worked very much like the Macintosh. And we spent a great deal of time preparing for a live remote demo of this product. And this was at a time when hotels did not provide internet access. In fact, the idea that there was internet access was probably foreign. And further, this was the Claremont Hotel, which of course is not known as a modern business center. It's a historic resort. So we had to provide all of our own technology to do the link to our own offices, since, of course, transporting the bulky computer needed to provide the server end was out of the question. But we did it in days of preparation and drilling. We were ready for a live demo for a large room full of people to project on a overhead projector and a pale LCD display. But I had one acetate screenshot done on a photocopier of the first screen to put up just as an introduction as I set up for the demo. So in a room full of people, I had tech standing by to be sure the link was okay, and product working. A few minutes before the session began, the hotel lost the phone service in that wing of the hotel, which was supporting our connections, and much frantic activity ensued. Just a few minutes, folks, a few minutes more. And it became clear that the connection was not going to come back. I did a full hour on the new product with one black and white acetate slide. It was one of the highest rated sessions at that conference. People came away with a full understanding of the product and its architecture, and were ready to order it. It was a little like old-time radio, where you had to paint the picture in your mind. So most of my memorable conferences are like that. They're challenging presentations or challenging issues. I do remember milestones, though, like realizing that we had in fact not only outgrown the Claremont, but outgrown the Oakland Marriott Conference Center, which is a pretty good size hotel facility. or realizing that for the first time in presenting, you have to use the microphone because now this audience is now far enough into the corners that not everyone is going to hear what you have to say. The room is just too big. I remember the locales, some of the more memorable locales, DC and such, but to some extent they do blend together only because the conference facilities are so similar. Mm-hmm. My obligations to the conference usually don't let me get outside and see the town. So I remember the insides of conference hotels had a lot of beautiful venues, but not, I can't quite keep them straight.
That's great. Why do you think to use a phrase, the synergy between IUG and Innovative makes the group thrive? Or do you think it does?
I do think it does, and I think it's that Innovative's approach from the beginning has been to solve the problems that libraries have to the satisfaction of those libraries, rather than to present a particular technology that's easy to develop and hope that the libraries of the world pick it up. So libraries present daunting challenges in indexing, in user interface, in dealing with even the library data is challenging. And Innovative has always given its technical staff, its developers, the freedom to hear what the goal really is and to pursue that goal. We're not repackaging an off-the-shelf database system to put the library face on it and then trot it down the road to sell it to the sporting goods stores or what have you. It's very much been about libraries from the beginning, and the synergy is that the libraries are experiencing the need, and they have the channel to Innovatives, developers, to the product managers to deliver the solution. We need the libraries as much as the libraries need the technology. It's really a great recipe, and the face-to-face conference is really the best manifestation of that.
Yeah, it's great to be able to put faces to voices that you hear over the phone when you call in too. Mm-hmm. Do you think the group is still relevant?
I do think it is. I think the most relevant role is continuing to foster that interaction with Innovative and with one another regarding the use of Innovative's products on an ongoing basis, to continue to foster that connection. There are things that the group can do beyond the conference to to provide sort of throughout the year more of the kinds of clearinghouse services and collaboration opportunities. The model that comes to mind are some of the incubators, as they call them, for some kinds of development activities, open source development activities and such, where you have a hub where not only can like-minded people come, but there's actually tools that they can use to contribute and exchange. It's similar also to the idea of the social networking sites, where the people are drawn there not only because they're friends are there, but because there's a great set of tools that let them communicate and collaborate. So that's an area where the IUG could do even more to extend the level of collaboration sort of throughout the year.
If you could see the IUG or Innovative change one thing to improve the users group meetings, what would you think it would be?
I wonder if my comments on the prior question were really the missing piece, because the conference itself is extraordinary. It's really unique in the industry. But during the year, during the span between conferences, there's less of that kind of input. So the idea of extending the conference or the collaboration, focusing on activities that can achieve that, or to reach out to those who can't participate in person, that's probably the one thing that I would see as an area of potential improvement.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't covered?
Not that comes right to mind. I'm aware of that not only the scale of the IUG, but the longevity is really quite remarkable, that it remains a vital, vibrant organization, and I'm thrilled to see this sort of activity, collecting the history as the IUG and Innovative continue for what I hope are many successful and productive years. This sort of history will be all the more important to have captured while we still remember.
While we're still here.
Yes, while we're still here.
Well, I really thank you for your input today, and you are now a part of our record. So
great.
Thank you
You're
for your
welcome.
participation.
Thanks for inviting me.